Great to be here. Thanks a lot for Hyperight for having us here again. We really appreciate this event, and we are here for the third time in a row, and we love this event. It's a challenge to be here right after lunch, and I hope you're going to be enthusiastic and energetic from some food and stuff. Hopefully you had some coffee too. You can notice I did. So just jump right into it. If there's anything we're not going to have a shortage of after this day that we spent here, is like the availability of data. We know we're going to have data from everywhere, coming at you, from IoT devices, from artificial intelligence, machine learning, relational databases, data lakes, Hadoops, I don't know. We're going to have a lot of data. I'm here a little bit to talk more about what can we do with that data. I mean, that's the important part. We can collect and store. But if we're looking at some of the really, really successful organizations here now shortly, the Spotify's, Airbnb, Alibaba, and Uber and those, they didn't kill their competition by storing more data. Heck no. They did it by utilizing that data and putting it to good use so they can offer goods and services smarter, better, faster than the competition could or were willing to do. So putting that data to work is probably what I think is the most important part and what some of those would agree on. So the use case I'm going to talk to you a little bit about here is the Stockholm housing economics. Who in here is from Stockholm, or actually live in Stockholm? A good portion. I thought it was going to be less. But okay, so all of you who has raised your hands, you know a lot of these things that I'm just going to show you. So then again, like, who is not from Stockholm here? Like, okay, for you guys, maybe some of this stuff is going to be new, but I don't know. We're going to look into it. Everybody here has probably been in a situation where they had either bought or sold a piece of property sometime in their life. And if you do it in Sweden, Stockholm particularly, but in Sweden, you will have access to a number of different sources for information. I mean, Hemnet, Blocket, Boolean, some of them, there are just a few of them, but there are some of the most used at least. Hemnet is actually an advertising platform owned by real estate agents. So if I want to sell my own property, I couldn't advertise on Hemnet if I wanted to, because I have to go through a real estate agent. I could actually advertise on Blocket, because Blocket is just the largest buy and sell website in Sweden. You can bicycles and cars and properties, and since 2012, even real estate agents are allowed to advertise here. So Booli, on the third hand, is actually one of the really interesting parts here, was that they're not an advertising firm. They're actually search-based search engine for housing property data. So me personally, I don't own stock in any of these organizations, so I don't have any preference. But I like Booli because, as contrary to the other ones, Booli exposes and leverages their data and say, hey, we collect a lot of data about housing situation and information and data. If you want to use it, scrape it off our website. Kind of like those Cambridge Analytica kind of people did. But they actually do it like freely. Please use it. Take it to good use, and please put our logo up and if you want to use it. And that's what I did. So for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to say, let's take a look at what we can find if we're scraping some data from the Booli website about the housing property sales situation in Stockholm in the last, I think, 5 years. So what do we have here? We have a number of records. Way over here, we have some dimensions. We have some, when it's constructed, the address and how many rooms and square meters and so forth. And down here, you have some prices and living average days on the market. So we have the measures. So the first measure I'm looking at, so how many properties, how many records do we have? 79,000. All those records have been made available over a period of time of about 5 years. A little bit of 2012 and the complete years of 13, 14, 15, and 16. So if I want to go down and take a look at okay, so when is my first question? When should I buy an apartment? So if we're looking at the availability of object historically per month, we can obviously see that June, July, and August comes to no surprise to the Swedes in here. Like, you don't sell apartments, especially not in Stockholm, in the summer, because we turn into vacuum people. We don't deal with financial transactions during the summer months. We go on vacation and we don't do anything. We don't buy and sell. So some of them are available, but not that many. But on the other hand, like March, April, and May, and the fall month, that's when people tend to sell more. So let's see how that looks like compared to the prices of properties. So making a dual axis. Ooh, what a color is that? Let's look at that like that. And on the view, we can see that the prices follow that trend. We can see we have a surplus in October compared to like the combination of available apartments or properties in the Stockholm area compared to prices. But we can see like it wouldn't be a good idea to put a property on the market in the summer because the fewer of them there, but also prices tend to go down. So that's a good thing to keep in mind if I don't know any better. Second question is, where? I don't know Stockholm. I'm not from here, and to be quite honest, I am not from here, but I live here now. So I can say, let's look at all these 79,000 plots and see, okay, where should I go if I want to know a little bit about, I'm going to create my own little Hemnet analysis here. So I want to know the construction year. I want to see, looking for apartments maybe statistically with 3 or 4 bedrooms. I want to find out the address of the locations. And object type, I'm going to say we want everything but just apartments. And we may want to see the number of rooms. Oh, that was the floor actually. So I would say 3 or 4 rooms as well as third or fourth floor. And we're going to put in, I want to know the list price that they listed it for. And actually, since it's statistical historic information, I want to know what it sold for, what it went for. Monthly rent, this is also something very particular. Even if you buy an apartment in Stockholm, in Sweden, you don't own it completely because you actually have to pay a rent, a fee every month. And I would say 3,500 Swedish crowns would be sufficient. Okay, so here we go. What kind of map is that? Do we have something a little bit nicer with the layers? Backline, we have coastal since we're in a coastal area. And I can see some of these apartments in here. Construction, the address, the prices and everything. What's good then? So I talked to a friend of mine. Okay, so what should I go for? What's a good location? He said all these locations are pretty good, closer to the center. But what you really want to go after if you want to make a good investment is sekelskifte. What? Yeah, because the older apartment, the more value. You want a really, really old place. Really? I want to live in an old apartment? Yeah, you do. The older, the better. So I created something that we call sekelskifte, which is just a calculation. So construction year less than 1910 or 100 or 20. But I did it for 1920 because I want to get a little bit more hits. So I take that. The nulls are the ones that didn't specify construction year, period. So I want to see now. So now I have like Kungstensgatan 65. They listed it for 6.5 million. They sold it for 7-8. Let's see what time that took place. In one of these guys, in the year of our Lord, like in 2014 in January 16. So, okay, now I have some ideas. I can look around a little bit and see what's interesting here to me and what kind of apartment makes sense and so forth. So that's great. But this investment grade is funny to me. Like, is it really true? Will I always get my money back if I buy a really old apartment? At least looking at it statistically, is that true? So let's compare construction year by, for example, sold price. And we're looking at all the ID, all the apartments that we have. Okay, so that looks funny. Good, good. Okay, this is construction year. I'm like, really? We really sold an apartment here in the data that it was built in the year of our Lord, 1049. You see, I mean, even if I have a really good data availability, data cleansing, data quality is important. So I really want to take a look at this. Like, is this true? So using this to go down and find out. Kärrtorp. Did you know we built apartments in Kärrtorp in 1049? Well, I would probably talk to that real estate agent. You got a little thing wrong here in your advertising, but it's okay. Good to know. So how many statisticians, data scientists do I have in the room? Probably like half of them. Okay. You guys close your eyes right now because I'm going to break a really golden rule in all statistics. I'm going to remove outliers. Ooh, Peter, don't do it, man. Okay, I'm doing it just because I want to prove a point here. So, sekelskifte, is it true? Okay, let's bring it over. Our little apartment, again, don't care about the nulls. I want to see, is it true? We see that, okay, we have the break there, 1920, a lot of these things. What's the average? What's your trend telling me then? If I'm looking at the linear trend, of only one line per color. Yeah, it makes sense. It holds true. If I would put some of the outliers in there and everything, it would probably tilt a little bit like that. So it says like, yeah, you're actually looking like over time, the older the apartment, it tends to be out of a higher value in terms of sold price. So, okay, good thing to keep in mind. I mean, it depends a little bit about the shape and where that old apartment is located and everything. But then again, statistically, even though if I excluded some outliers, it looks like all apartments are good. So that's my investment grade. What about how? What should I go after? Old apartments, downtown Stockholm, not in the summer months, but somewhere outside of the summer months. But what? How? So I went a little crazy here earlier and created a calculation that I called average days on the market. Like, is it true if they advertise an apartment or a property for a long period of time and it stays on the market for quite a long time? It's like Tinder or whatever. It's on the market a long time. I mean, the price go down, whatever. But I see the difference, published date and sold date. So let's see if there's a trend or a piece of comparison here between when that is available and the price. And the price I'm looking for is what I call the margin of negotiation. And that's nothing more fancy than looking at the difference between list and actual sales price. And I put a -1 there at the end so that I can make it into a percentage, the positive percentage sign. So average days compared to margin of negotiation of all the properties available and views. All you statisticians again, cover your eyes. Exclude their... that one you can keep. No, that looks funny. I'm sorry about that. And you guys, this is just for demonstrations purposes, right? You understand that. And tilt that a little bit. And now we can see that these circles may or may not indicate something interesting here, where bring down the opacity a bit and maybe really tiny border or something. And I can see what I have here. We want to look at the list price, of course, and the sold price, probably the address again. Give me all of them. And I want to look for these guys. Something that has been on the market for a number of days. Gustavslundslägen. I don't know if anybody lives there. Probably a really, really nice area, but it had been on the market for 437 days. They listed it for 4.5 million Swedish crowns, and they ended up getting 1.7. Wow, what a deal! If I can find something like that that would fit me, that would be something that I would be after. Here comes the golden question. Could I find sekelskifte below the margin of negotiation? Let's take a look. I did. I have some here, right? Here's a really good one. That's what I want. Oh. They took a killing on that, didn't they? They listed it for 35 million and ended up getting 27 million. I don't know the real estate agent if he was on provision on that one or how that worked out, but on comparison, this is more likely of the Stockholm housing market usually looks like. They listed with 1.895 because they want to get everybody there to have the ceiling of 1.9, and they see if they can get it to 2.3 or whatever. Those of us who live in this and buy, we know about this. But so basically, hey Peter, what are you actually showing? I'm showing this. I'm looking for the green dots that a little bit below here that we look for, that will make sense in terms of more days on the market compared to the list and sale price, if it would make any sense to look for that. But then again, this is just historical data. So this is what I would do before going to Hemnet to see what's available. If I can make my homework, if I can work with the data to find out a little bit more, if I was new to Stockholm, using the information that I have in front of me, that could make a lot of sense, because I could find out a lot of historical information before I start making my own decision. Because then again, if you go to a housing property showing in Stockholm, how much time do you have to decide if you want to buy it or not? You go there for 2 times and an average like 20-25 minutes each. That's all you have to see the property, and you're going to spend 35 million on it or not. So then again, making a homework, looking at some piece of analytics like this could potentially save a lot of grief. So I can actually take this time to buy some areas, and just connect these pieces of insight a little bit and saying, okay, I want this, my sekelskift apartments in this area of Stockholm, and see what we end up with. So, okay, that's one way of analyzing these pieces of insight that I have just created. So, okay, so now we come to the burning question. Like Goran told me before you go on stage, I mean, you have to have something to show that you're looking forward. I mean, you can't just look historically. Okay, I see you, I hear what you're saying. Let's look at the sale price again over time and go down in bars, and we say, let's look at this by all the months, not the quarters, all the months, and then again, crazy outlier. Sorry. I want to see this trend, because this trend tells me that in 5 years of data, combined aggregated sales prices, we see we have a dip in July. The average sales price is 2.6. We have a dip in July, 3. We have a dip in July, 3.5. But it keeps going upwards, right? That's what the politicians and the banks and the people in Sweden, except us, who's like, we borrow money because I want to buy a nice apartment. But that's what they were afraid of. What's going to happen when it continue going like that? We're going to have a burst in the bubble, people are going to lose their place, and the banks are going to owe a lot of money, and we're going to owe a lot of money, and it's going to be bad. So they want to prevent this from keep going. So they enforce something, because what we can see here in 2016 and 2017, we see a difference here. It kept growing, but not as much, because what happened in the summer of 2017, that's when we passed the law that we have to start paying the money back. They're forced amortizations in Sweden. So what's going to happen now in the year? That we see that on television every day here in Sweden. Oh, SEB thinks that, Swedbank thinks this and that. So the forecast. Oh, so what does Tableau think? So let's look at the forecast. I have no more data in here than what I've already showed you. The statistical information of 79,000 pieces of sold properties from the Booli website, minus some outliers. And I'm looking at the forecast based on that historical data. And we can actually see something that I think is so interesting, because it rings through exactly what they've been saying on the news now here for quite some time. It will pick up again from where it was last summer and over the winter. It will pick up again, and July and so forth, and the months thereafter will pick up more than they did last year. But we see the slowing of the trend, like the cooling effect of, I don't know if it was that decision or not, but we see a cooling effect on the housing market. So I think that's really interesting piece that we take with us, that looking at that part. Okay, the last couple of minutes. Peter, great, fine, we saw what you did, and some of it was interesting and colorful, but what's the innovation here? I mean, come on, that's business intelligence. Okay, I will say one thing. You already raised your hands and everything. We have some scientists and statisticians, but really, we're all analysts here. I mean, we really go to work every day, and we have data to work with. We can do this. We can do much more with what we have. We can attract more data and have more Hadoop clusters and data warehouses and big data, but we have some. And really, let's uncover those insights, because really, nobody's going to do it for you. This is us democratizing the data visualization. We need people to start using the data we have, because they can tell a story. And that's really one of my last points here. Tell a story with that data, and if you want to explain and make people understand what we're talking about, because it gets so much easier to get people on board to understand what we're doing if we can visualize in a way, have a story behind it, and make people understand what we're talking about. And again, if we share those insights, then that's when I think the true value appear to get people on board. I think you're going to get these slides from Goran and the people afterwards and everything. You have my presentation if you want to take part of the data set. How many in here use Tableau already? I know some walked. Oh, well, great. If you want to have this data set, you can have it too. And my advice, go out, innovate with your data. You can do it, man. Thank you.